Asterisk asterisk. Some people don't raise their voice, they lower the noise inside and the room finds its rhythm. You've seen it. No spotlight, no performance, just a steadiness that feels like gravity. This isn't charm, it isn't a pose. It's a quiet authority that doesn't ask for permission because it's powered from within. There's a kind of confidence you can't rehearse or filter. It arrives the day a woman stops outsourcing her center. The day she meets the part of herself she buried under deadlines, opinions, and comparisons. Carl Jung might call it the path back to the authentic self, the life beneath the mask. The Stoics would call it inner mastery governing the only territory you truly own. Your judgments, your choices, your breath. Be honest. How many times have you performed just to feel enough? Smiled through fatigue, nodded past your truth, collected applause but lost your pulse. We've been trained to think confidence is loud. Real confidence is legible even in silence. It doesn't chase attention. It becomes a tuning fork that steadies the moment. True confidence isn't built in mirrors or measured in likes. It's born in solitude the minute you stop asking, "What do they think?" and finally ask, "Who am I?" when it's quiet. Jung teaches that we all carry light and shadow. Deny the shadow and it signs your decisions in secret. Face it. Sit with it, fear, anger, shame, and the inner seismograph resets. You stop fighting yourself. Your presence stops arguing and starts clarifying. Picture this. You meet your own gaze not to fix your face, but to keep your word. Your worth stops fluctuating with approval. Your voice stops auditioning. That isn't arrogance. That's peace, the kind people feel before you say a word. Women who change the climate of a room weren't born on a stage. They survive quiet wars between who they are and who they were told to be, and they learn to trust the whisper that says, "You don't have to prove, you can simply be." So when you see someone grounded, calm, and vividly alive, remember, you're not just witnessing confidence, you're witnessing alignment. Mind, body, and soul moving in one direction. Confidence, at its purest, isn't standing above others. It's finally standing within yourself. And that's where we begin, not by becoming more, but by returning to what's been true all along. Are you ready to meet the woman beneath the noise? Real confidence isn't a look, it's a loyalty. Loyalty to the promises you whisper to yourself when no one is watching. If you've been feeling strangely restless lately, you're not broken, you're modern. Carl Jung warned that our age doesn't exhaust people, it disorients them. We drown in opinions, but starve for identity. When you lose touch with your inner coordinates, every outside voice starts sounding like law. Little by little, you outsource your direction and call it progress. Forget the lighthouse, think of a compass that's magnetized to every passing metal. Each compliment, each critique, pulls the needle. You start steering by reaction instead of intention. Self-trust is the moment you recalibrate that compass toward true north, your own center. It isn't flashy, it isn't loud, but once aligned, the whole map begins to make sense again. How do we drift off course? Not through one big betrayal, but through 1,000 small hesitations. The no you soften to avoid conflict. The bedtime you postpone just this once. The truth you dilute so someone else stays comfortable. These aren't sins, they're slow leaks. Each one whispers to your nervous system, "I can't count on me." The Stoics called discipline self-respect in action, not punishment, precision. Jung called the false persona, we hide behind the mask. It smiles, it performs, it wins the room, but can't survive the silence after. Wear it long enough, and the body starts filing complaints. Tight chest, shallow breath, intuition gone fuzzy. That's your psyche asking for sovereignty. So what rebuilds self-trust? Not hustle listening. Quietly, honestly, without PR, ask yourself, if no one ever found out, what would I still choose? Your body answers faster than your logic. A softening in the ribs, a lift behind the eyes, or that subtle heaviness that says, not this. The Stoics would call it attention. Jung would call it the voice of the unconscious. Let's anchor this. Choose one promise so small it's almost embarrassing. Water before screen, lights out by 10:30. 3 minutes of stillness before the first text. Keep it 7 days, not to impress the world, but to prove to your system that your words still mean something. Every kept promise is a thread sewing your inner and outer lives back together. Picture yourself in a meeting. A jab lands. The old reflex rises. You feel the heat, but this time, you lengthen your exhale by 1 count. You respond, not react. That's self-trust in motion. Your inner climate stabilizing before the storm hits the room. You'll slip, of course. You'll oversleep, overcommit, overthink. Don't crown it failure. The Stoics began every morning with a reset. The measure of growth isn't perfection, it's return rate. How quickly do you come home after you drift? And here's the quiet revolution. Shift from, what do they think of me? To, what do I actually feel? When you include your feelings, not idolize them, you stop renting your worth to strangers. You no longer need to win the room to stay centered. You simply keep your word. Soon people will sense something different. You're not louder, you're clearer. Truth has a frequency. It doesn't chase, it attracts. That's the unseen gravity of self-trust. The power that steadies others just by standing near you. So if you're ready to rebuild from within, stay close. In the next chapter, we'll map the 7-day recalibration. One promise, one breath, one honest boundary at a time. Are you moving the room with your gravity or performing for approval you don't even want? Let me draw you 2 invisible circles. In one, you belong to yourself. In the other, you perform to belong. The same face, the same smile, but a completely different frequency. In the first circle, your energy feels rooted like a tree that bends but doesn't beg. In the second, it's rattled, always scanning for signals. Am I safe? Am I seen? Am I still enough? Rooted energy isn't about glamour or power poses. It's what happens when someone has walked through her inner storms and now carries the weather within her. She doesn't need to prove calm. Her nervous system broadcasts it. She can say no without guilt, ask for help without shame, and love deeply without losing the coordinates of who she is. When life gets demanding, she doesn't negotiate her worth. She simply reorganizes her time. Rattled energy can look confident on the surface, sharp, witty, magnetic for a moment, but it's running on borrowed electricity. Approval, attention, constant connection. One unread message and her mind spirals. One cool tone and her stomach drops. She isn't weak, she's overtrained in survival. She learned to earn warmth through performance and mistook exhaustion for intimacy. Carl Jung gave us a map for this split. He called it the dance between the persona, the mask we show the world, and the shadow, the truths we've buried to stay liked. The Stoics would nod. You cannot control the crowd, only your conduct. Jung would add, you cannot master conduct until you meet the one who's choosing. Picture this scene, a networking event, a room full of small talk and fragile confidence. 2 women walk in. The first doesn't claim the air. She simply inhabits it. Her pace is unhurried, her gaze steady but kind. When she speaks, it's not to prove knowledge, it's to connect meaning. People don't turn to look at her. They settle near her. She's not selling anything, she's safe. The second, equally beautiful, maybe more expressive. But her laugh is a little too sharp. Her eyes flicker for feedback. Her tone bends toward whoever nods. When the attention shifts, her energy collapses, then flares again like a flame gasping for air. One is anchored, the other is adrift. Across cultures, the ancients named this contrast, not through divinity, but through states of consciousness. Athena, the calm strategist whose clarity wins wars before they start. Pandora, the curious spirit acting from an unintegrated hunger, opening what she's not ready to hold. Neither is evil. Both live inside us. But when we ignore our Pandora, our untended curiosity, our unmet fear, she starts steering in secret. So how do we move from rattled to rooted? Not by pretending to be calm, by practicing sovereignty in micro moments. When your chest tightens, lengthen your exhale by 1 count. When your ribs say no, say it with your body too. Step back, unclench your jaw. When you crave a reply from someone else, place your palm on your sternum and whisper, "What am I really asking for?" The more you include your feelings, not worship them, but include them, the more your shadow becomes conscious and choice returns. Jung said, "What you do not make conscious will rule your life, and you will call it fate." The Stoics would agree. Fate is what happens. Character is how you meet it. Here's the real shift that changes every room. Rooted energy doesn't try to control people. It clarifies reality. Your boundaries get quieter. Your words get fewer and truer. You stop auditioning for parts you don't want in stories you never wrote. People feel this difference. Not because you dominate the spotlight, but because you turned on an inner light and stopped performing in the dark. And if you've lived most of your life in rattled energy, don't feel ashamed. You weren't broken. You were defending yourself the only way you knew. But defense can become a habit that outlives the danger. Now, it's time to trade armor for alignment. Presence is lighter, and paradoxically, it carries more weight. Everyone carries both light and shadow. The difference is what you choose to do with what hurts. When you face it, it stops ruling you. When you integrate it, it becomes your gravity. And that's when your presence stops asking and starts answering. In the next part, we'll turn this clarity into daily confidence, so your center holds steady, even when the world around you starts to spin. Confidence isn't a pose, it's the quiet moment when your soul stops auditioning for permission to be itself. Real confidence isn't something you wear, it's what stays when every costume stops fitting. It's not an attitude, it's an alignment. Carl Jung said confidence appears the moment the ego stops pretending to be king and finally bows to serve the deeper self. The Stoics would have called that moment self-governance, when your actions obey truth, not impulse. Picture a mountain instead of a tree. Everyone admires its peak, but what makes it unmoved through storms isn't height, it's foundation. The roots of stone run deeper than the snow that tries to bury it. That's what true confidence feels like. It doesn't come from fixing your flaws. It comes from making peace with your depth. You've met both your light and your dark, and neither scares you anymore. You no longer need to curate your humanity to earn a seat at the table. Compare that to what I call borrowed confidence, the kind that glitters for a moment but breaks at the first hint of disapproval. It's polished, eloquent, even charming, but it's always negotiating. One raised eyebrow, one silence too long, and the whole structure trembles. Why? Because it's not built on integrity, it's built on image. Borrowed confidence hides the wound instead of healing it. It measures worth by reaction. Real confidence measures worth by alignment. Jung warned that our unexamined emotions form secret contracts, the complexes that drive us when we think we're in control. But the descent into your own depths is not a fall, it's a return. When you finally meet what's been exiled, you stop wasting energy on performing perfection and start investing it in becoming whole. The Stoics meet Jung here. Control what is yours, your judgments, your choices. Jung would add, yes, but first, know who is choosing. Without that self-knowledge, control becomes repression, not mastery. Listen to this line from Jung. You are what you do, not what you say you'll do. That isn't motivation, it's measurement. Confidence is inner integrity, the lived harmony between word and action. Every time you keep a small promise to yourself, you don't just succeed, you reprogram your nervous system to trust your own voice again. Neuroscience would call it new neural wiring. The Stoics would call it character training. Jung might call it reconciliation between the conscious and the unconscious. But your body simply calls it safety. Imagine your inner world as a small nation. When its leader makes grand speeches but never follows through, cynicism grows. People stop showing up. Order collapses. But when the leader gives fewer promises and keeps them relentlessly, trust rebuilds. That's what inner peace feels like. Confidence rises naturally from that order. It's breath, not performance. Let's ground it. A colleague throws a subtle jab. Old you fires back defensive, witty, trembling to look composed. Centered you notices, throat tightens, breath shortens, palms heat. You add one silent count to your exhale. Then ask yourself, what can I say now that I'll still respect 2 hours later? Maybe you respond calmly. Maybe you stay silent. Either way, you choose not to win, but to stay whole. That's confidence, not reaction, but regulation. You will fall off track. Everyone does. You'll promise too much, rush too fast, speak from fear. But the true metric isn't flawlessness, it's return rate. How quickly can you come back to yourself after you leave? The Stoics practiced it daily. Fall, notice, correct without drama, without shame. Every return plants another root. So here's your 7-day recalibration to anchor confidence in action. Day 1. 2. One micro promise so small it's humbling. Keep it like it's sacred. Gone. Day 3, 4. One conscious breath before any sentence containing should. Day 5. One honest no your body already whispered. Day 6. Review slips without verdicts. Ask, how did I return? Day 7. One quiet hour, no inputs, no masks, listening for the line between impulse and intention. By the end, don't look for applause, listen for tone. Are you negotiating less? Apologizing less for existing? Then confidence has already shifted from noise to nature. It no longer demands to be seen. It clarifies reality just by standing there. When your ego takes its rightful seat, not ruling, not hiding, and your actions match your word, confidence stops being an act. It becomes your atmosphere. You don't rise above others, you rise within yourself. In the next part, we'll build your daily architecture, rituals, habits, and emotional blueprints that keep your roots deep when the wind turns loud. Your confidence didn't vanish. It's waiting exactly where you last broke a promise to yourself. Let's get precise. Most people don't lose self-trust in one earthquake. They drip it away by the teaspoon. I'll be in bed by 10:30. Water before screens. Don't text them back. We miss the tiny agreements and then wonder why our center trembles on the big stage. The Stoics warned us, freedom begins with self-command. Jung goes deeper. Every kept promise lays a plank on the bridge between who you say you are and who your nervous system believes you to be. Here's the first secret, and it's non-negotiable. Keep your word to yourself small, specific, measurable. Not to impress anyone. To repair the treaty inside you, cinematic cut. It's late. The apartment hums. The phone glows like a little altar. Old you bargains. 3 more minutes. Centered you, inhales once, opens the alarm, sets wake up, face down the phone. Click. That's not productivity, that's a signal. Your body hears. We are reliable. We follow through. Signals compound. So does peace. The 7-day promise ledger. 3 micro promises so small they feel silly. That's the point. Morning. 1 glass of water before any screen. Midday, 2 minutes of stillness, hand on chest before any hard reply. Evening, lights out at 10:30, 5 nights of 7. Write them on paper where your eyes can't dodge them. Each completion gets a mark, nothing pretty. Why ritualize? Because the unconscious respects repetition, not speeches. The mark says, I did what I said. If you miss a day, you don't start over, you return. Stoic discipline without drama. Correction, not condemnation. Jung said the shadow keeps receipts. Every time you honor a small promise, you invite that shadow out of the basement and into dialogue. Sabotage softens. In brain terms, you're carving a loop. Cue action, quiet pride. That pride isn't ego, it's inner safety. And inner safety looks like this. Criticism arrives, and your ribs hold instead of collapsing. You speak 1 sentence fewer and mean it twice as much. You stop auditioning for roles you never wanted. Cinematic cut. Again. You're in a meeting. A stray jab lands. Old you tap dance to look unshaken. New you remembers last night's 10:30 shutdown. It seems unrelated, but it isn't. Kept promises buy you one extra breath, 1 degree cooler. You choose a response you won't regret in 2 hours. That's confidence born from obedience to your own soul. Make promises that keep themselves. Attach each promise to a trigger you already do. Water after turning off the alarm. 2 stillness minutes after closing an email draft. Lights out after brushing your teeth. This isn't a willpower marathon. It's rails you can actually ride. Expect pushback and name it. The social mask whispers, "This is too small to matter." Smile. The woman you're becoming doesn't need grand gestures. She needs consistency. The Stoics called it habit of character. Don't count streaks to impress anyone. Count returns. How quickly do you come back when you slip? That metric predicts your future more than perfection ever will. The 3 rules of the promise ledger. No vague vows. If a stranger can't measure it, it's not a promise. No inflation. If you're thriving, increase by 10%, not 10 times. No public parade. Private promises build private gravity, the kind people feel without you announcing it. By day 7, don't hunt for applause. Listen for tone. Are you less reactive? Are your yes responses fewer and cleaner? That's the quiet halo people notice but can't name. It isn't seduction, it's sovereignty. Keep this close. Your life answers to the promises you keep privately. When your evenings get honest, your days get brave. Bottom line, the first secret is simple. Not easy, keep your word. Tiny, daily, on purpose. Do that long enough and confidence stops being a costume. It becomes your climate. In the next secret, we'll train your intuition so your body becomes a trusted compass, not a courtroom. 3 minutes, 1 question, and a vocabulary your nervous system already speaks. Your body heard the truth long before your mind started writing the excuse. We talk about intuition as if it's mystical, but most of the time it's biological wisdom wrapped in quiet. Carl Jung called it a function of the psyche. The Stoics would call it attention without panic. In simple terms, the unconscious speaks in sensations, not sentences. Tight chest, lifted ribs, grounded feet, fluttering stomach. Your body is broadcasting, but most of us are tuned to everyone else's frequency. Think about the last time you said yes while something deep inside whispered no. Your smile moved forward, but your spine leaned back. Your breath got shallow, your jaw locked. That wasn't anxiety, it was information. We keep waiting for intuition to sound like a podcast. Instead, it speaks in textures, and the language is ancient, the practice. The 3-minute listening ritual. Before decisions that touch your values, pause for 3 minutes. No music, no scrolling, no performance. Sit down. 1 hand on your chest, 1 on your lower belly. Ask one simple question. If I choose this, what happens in my body? If your chest opens, your breath deepens, your ribs expand, it's a gentle yes. If your throat tightens or your belly hardens, that's a not this. Maybe not now, maybe not ever, but not this way. This isn't mysticism. It's somatic data. The body is the vault where every emotion, humiliation, and miracle was archived. You trembled once when you spoke truth and were mocked. Your ribs. Remember, Jung said the unconscious keeps the receipts. The body is how it delivers them. The Stoics remind us, notice the impression first, then choose your response. Neither worship the sensation nor ignore it. Translated. A scene from everyday life. You're offered a dream job, higher pay, better title, perfect optics. But when you read the offer, your breath skips. Old you drafts 5 messages for advice. New you takes 3 silent minutes. You ask, if I say yes, do I expand or shrink? Your ribs contract. You reply, grateful but not aligned right now. That's not fear. That's fidelity to your center. The 7-day Body Vocabulary Challenge. Once a day, at random, ask, what is my body feeling right now? Write a single adjective: tight, warm, foggy, buzzing, open, sharp, steady, heavy, light. No judging, no fixing. You are not a courtroom. You are a classroom. After 7 days, patterns appear. Certain names open your breath. Certain rooms fold your shoulders. Certain conversations drain color from your face. Those aren't coincidences, they're coordinates. Adjust, don't apologize. 2 tools to refine the signal. The exhale advantage. When unsure, lengthen your exhale by 1 count. Intuition hides under tension. Breath is the key that unlocks it. The double-check test. If a choice feels right only when you imagine how others will see it, it's not intuition, it's performance. If it still feels right when no one will ever know, you've found truth. Expect pushback. Your social mask will mutter, "You're overthinking." Smile. The woman with self-trust doesn't outsource her decisions to the mask. She consults her nervous system, then confers with reason. Jung gives her the language. The Stoics give her the posture. What changes when you live this way? Not that life gets easier. Your signal-to-noise ratio just improves. You answer slower. Your yes lands deeper. You stop arguing with sensations that have already voted. And quietly, people begin to breathe easier around you. Co-regulation isn't magic, it's your steady breath teaching the room how safety feels. Intuition isn't lightning, it's pulse. If you honor it in small choices, it will protect you in the large ones. Tonight, give yourself 3 silent minutes and 1 honest adjective. Your body has been waiting for that conversation. In the next part, we'll learn how to protect this clarity with boundaries, so your inner compass isn't drowned out by other people's weather. Every time you say yes while your body whispers no, you don't just lose time, you lose the treaty between your soul and your sanity. Let's redefine what boundaries actually are. They're not walls, not defiance, not ego. They are quiet contracts that keep your soul and your schedule on the same side. Carl Jung would say, boundaries reflect your inner relationship. When you honor yourself, your outer life starts to honor you back. The Stoics put it more bluntly. Protect what is up to you, your energy, your attention, your choices. So why do we fail to protect them? Because somewhere in childhood, love felt like performance. We were praised for being easy, helpful, available. Saying no felt like rejection, so we learned to trade our truth for harmony. That didn't make us weak. It made us adaptive. But adaptation has a cost. Exhaustion, resentment, self-erasure. Without boundaries, your nervous system becomes a crowded room with no exits, everyone's noise, no one's voice. Here's the paradox. A boundary isn't a push against others, it's a pull back to yourself. And yes, it stings at first. Jung reminded us, there is no coming to consciousness without pain. That ache you feel when you finally protect your peace, that's your life stretching into its rightful shape. Let's turn that into a practice. Think of this as the boundary blueprint, 3 cinematic steps to restore your center. Step 1. Name the leaks. Tonight, take 10 honest minutes. Write down 3 situations that drain you. Be precise. Who? When? What did you feel? What did you do or avoid doing? Maybe it's that group chat that pings into midnight. The coworker whose quick favor eats your morning. The friend who calls only when they're collapsing. You cannot repair what you refuse to recognize. Naming the leaks is how you find the holes in your peace. Step 2. Practice 1 micro-boundary a day. Keep it small, calm, and enforceable. I'll reply tomorrow, not tonight. I'm at capacity right now. Let's keep this call to 20 minutes. If your chest tightens, lengthen your exhale by 1 count and step back half a pace as you speak. That single gesture tells your nervous system, you're safe to stand your ground. And remember, a boundary you can calmly repeat is stronger than a passionate speech you'll never deliver. Step 3. Collect nightly proof. Each evening, jot down 1 act of self-respect, no matter how small. I muted the chat. I didn't over-explain my no. I paused before answering. This is not about perfection. It's about receipts your body can believe. Every act of self-respect becomes a vote for trust. You begin to feel physically that your life belongs to you again. But expect resistance. Your mask will panic. You're selfish. You've changed. Smile softly because you have. You've stopped abandoning yourself to stay understandable. That's not arrogance. That's alignment. The Stoics would call it character. Jung would call it individuation. The outer world adjusting to your inner truth. Here's a scene. You're in a meeting. Someone says, "You can handle this too, right?" Old you nods before your breath returns. New you checks in, hears the ribs tighten, and says calmly, "I'm at capacity. If this is essential, let's remove X or shift the timeline." No apology. No tremor. Boundaries don't control people, they clarify reality. The 3 field rules. Short beats long. The longer you explain, the more you negotiate your worth. Hold it twice. People test patterns, not principles. Repeat once calmly, then move on. Replace, don't erase. When you cut a draining hour, fill it with life stretch, walk, silence. Boundaries make space for yourself, not from others. What changes after a week? You stop sprinting toward every request. Your yes becomes warmer because it's honest. Your presence grows heavier like an anchor, not a weight. People start relaxing around you. Why? Because true boundaries don't divide, they create predictability, and predictability feels like safety. Boundaries are not barriers. They're bridges between who you are and how you live. Hold one small boundary a day, and you'll stop leaking confidence through polite cracks. The result isn't a louder life. It's a cleaner one where peace becomes your default posture. In the next part, we'll explore how your steadiness transforms every room you enter, how one calm nervous system can become a sanctuary for everyone else. Some people walk into a room and everyone breathes easier, not because they demanded space, but because they carried stillness. You've met her. She doesn't chase attention. She steadies it. She isn't performing confidence. She radiates coherence. When she speaks, her tone lands softly but somehow rearranges the air. In Jung's language, she's a woman whose ego has learned to serve the self, no longer fighting for control, but taking right order. In Stoic terms, she's mastered her judgments, so the noise of other people's reactions never hijacks her peace. What you feel in her presence isn't charisma. It's regulation, your breath sinking quietly to someone who's anchored. A cinematic scene. Picture an office caught in the daily storm, deadlines flashing, phones buzzing, sarcasm flying like shrapnel. She walks in without theatrics. Her shoulders are low, her steps unhurried. She doesn't demand silence. She embodies it. The tension doesn't vanish, it exhales. Emails still send, but people start breathing slower. Conversations regain rhythm. No memo went out. No rule changed. Her state rewrote the atmosphere. That's the first ripple of self-trust. Your calm becomes medicine. Not the rescue kind, Jung would warn against that, but the reminding kind. She doesn't heal you for you. She reminds you you're capable of healing yourself. This is the healer, guide archetype done right. No control, no savior complex, only clarity. She doesn't hand you a script. She hands you your mirror back. The mechanics of invisible power. How does she do it? Not with mantras or mood boards. Her power is maintenance, not performance. She keeps small promises until her body believes her. She guards her boundaries before resentment breeds. She checks decisions against her intuition until her yes rings clean. That's how she broadcasts calm, a frequency you can feel, even when she's silent. Have you ever sat next to someone and, without words, felt safe enough to drop your guard? That's co-regulation. Jung described it best. The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. And have it. Transformation isn't fireworks. Sometimes it's just a colleague finally telling the truth in a meeting. A friend finally sleeping instead of pleasing. A partner apologizing once and meaning it. The end of the audition. Self-trust ends the performance. You stop auditioning for acceptance. Your no becomes navigation, not rebellion. Your yes becomes commitment, not currency. People feel this. They may test it, but they start to trust it. Predictability is love's quiet dialect. When you stop abandoning yourself, others learn they're safe to relax around you. Another scene. The cafe test. Two friends meet for coffee. One is spiraling, speaking fast, heat in every word. Old you would match her pace, trying to fix the storm. New you exhales one count longer, lowers your shoulders, and asks, "What would help today?" Not forever. The room softens. Solutions rise that weren't available at high speed. You didn't heal her. You modeled stillness, a mirror strong enough for her to find herself again. That's where Jung and the Stoics shake hands. The Stoic governs what's controllable: breath, tone, attention. Jung invites what's hidden: shadow, emotion, memory back into awareness. Together they shape a human who can host a moment without dominating it. The ripple you don't see. A woman rooted in self-trust gives silent permission for others to come home to themselves. A daughter watching her learns that strength doesn't have to shout. A team learns that boundaries and kindness can share the same sentence. A partner learns that love isn't possession, it's respect arranged into habits. Will everyone understand her? No. Some will mistake steadiness for distance. That's fine. Self-trust doesn't chase misunderstanding. It invites clarity. Her quiet message is simple. Come back to your center. I'll be waiting at mine. When you trust yourself, you don't steal anyone's spotlight. You switch on a light that helps everyone see. Let that be your revolution. Not the noise of dominance, but the climate of peace. Don't try to be the loudest in the room. Be the reason the room remembers how to breathe. In the final chapter, we'll build your daily blueprint, simple rituals to keep this steady climate alive, even when the world gets loud. Real confidence isn't a roar, it's the quiet hand that finds your chest and says, "I'm here," when the lights go out. If you take only one truth from this journey, let it be this. Self-trust is not a trophy, it's a relationship. Some days you speak your inner language fluently. Other days you fumble for words. That's not failure, that's fidelity on difficult terrain. The Stoics never promised sunny weather. They promised a steady helm. Jung never asked you to amputate the shadow. He asked you to face it, so it stops steering from the dark. So when the world gets loud, remember our simple covenant. Keep one small promise when no one is watching. Let your body cast the first vote before your calendar signs the contract. Hold a boundary calmly twice, even if your voice trembles the first time. None of this sparkles on a highlight reel. All of it is sacred, because every kept promise, every honest breath, every clear no is you choosing fidelity over theater. The aura you admire in others is not magic. It's maintenance. Picture a late night. Notifications throb like neon. Old patterns bargain. One more scroll, one more yes, one more performance. You pause, hand to heart. One long, unhurried exhale. You set the phone face down and turn yourself back on. That micro pivot won't trend online, but it will trend in your nervous system. Tomorrow you'll walk into the room with one more ounce of oxygen, and that's how rooms relearn to breathe. A woman who trusts herself is not invulnerable. She feels fear, but she won't hand it the keys. She still hurts, but she refuses to build a home in the ache. She loves fiercely, without evacuating herself to do it. To the Stoics, that's inner freedom. To Jung, that's individuation, the ego taking its rightful seat as messenger, while the self supplies the light. I'll leave you with a line that can live on your mirror. The sole purpose of human existence is to kindle a light in the darkness of mere being. Carl Jung. You don't need to set the world ablaze. Start with your square foot of earth, your morning, your breath, your word. Light there. Carry what's lit. Each time you return to your center, you draw a small map for others to come home to theirs. If today stirred the water, good, let it ripple. Don't rename your life overnight. Choose one quiet practice and keep it. 7 nights of honest sleep, 7 mornings of water before screens, 7 boundaries that protect your peace. You'll hear the change first in your inner tone. Less auditioning, more belonging, not to a crowd, to yourself. And if you slip this week, begin again tonight. The metric isn't perfection, it's return rate. How quickly do you come home after you leave? Before we close, scan your day and ask, where can I increase the light by 1 degree without asking permission? A slower answer, a shorter sentence, one courageous no that keeps you available for a deeper yes. These aren't small moves. They're sovereign acts. If this journey met you where you needed it, stay with it and stay with yourself. Tap subscribe, hit like, and share this with someone who is ready to trade performance for presence. In the next video, I'll give you a 30-day blueprint to deepen self-trust micro-rituals, boundary scripts, and breath cues so your roots hold when life turns windy. Until then, hand on heart, light on, not louder, truer.